A telephone rang in Washington in the middle of the night. By dawn, a Navy master diver was 1,000 miles from home in an Arkansas forest. He was looking at black water where the mouth of a cave used to be. 4 men were sealed on the other side of it. Every one of them would come out of there alive. And somebody at that cave would not go home. And it wasn't any of the men trapped inside. This is how far a stranger will travel to reach you in the dark, and what it can cost him. Start where they started. Friday afternoon, early April 1965, in the Arkansas Ozarks, and a question every local had wondered about for years. 2 caves sat a couple of miles apart, Rowland and the enormous system under Blanchard Springs. Did they connect? Nobody had ever proved it. So 4 local men decided to go and find out for themselves. They weren't an expedition. They were 4 neighbors with a free afternoon. Hugh Shell was around 42, a bookkeeper from Batesville. Steve Wilson was 20, a college student. Mike Hill was 19. And a 4th man, Hogan Bledsoe, went in with them. Between them they had rope, carbide lamps, and the confidence of men who'd walked into holes in the ground their whole lives. Cave country does that to you. And there's one thing you need to know about these 4 before the water comes. Not one of them could dive. None of them had ever worn scuba gear in his life. Hold on to that. It turns into the entire problem. They went in that afternoon and worked their way back through the passages. 4 lamps moving through rock that had been dark for longer than there had been people to see it. Above them, it started to rain. They didn't hear it. 400 feet inside a mountain, you don't hear weather. You hear your own boots and your own breathing. But the rain kept on, and the water on the surface found the same hole they had. When they turned back toward the entrance, the way out was gone. Not blocked. Gone. Underwater, floor to ceiling. They tried the other passages. Every one of them ended in rock. So they did the only thing left. They went back to a dry chamber, rigged a shelter out of ponchos, lit their candles, and sat down in the dark to wait for somebody to notice they were missing. Nobody knew where they were. Nobody knew they were in trouble. And the water was still rising. They would sit there for more than a day, sealed in, candles burning down, with no way to know if anyone on Earth was looking for them. Above ground they were missed, and the first people who tried to reach them were local divers who knew that water. They failed. The passage was too long, too black, and too full of silt to see a hand in front of a mask. Which left one option that shouldn't have been an option at all. Find somebody, anywhere in the country, who could do what nobody nearby could. The call went to Washington, D.C., to a cave rescue team of the National Speleological Society, and to the United States Navy, a hole in the ground in Arkansas. And the nearest help that could actually reach it was a Navy diving school, 1,000 miles away. They put a small team on a jet in the middle of the night. Navy divers and cave rescue volunteers flew them to Little Rock and had state troopers drive them the rest of the way. They landed before anyone had figured out the hardest part. The team got in, got down, and found them. 4 men alive in a chamber about 400 feet from an entrance that no longer existed. That was the good news, and it lasted about a minute, because the only route out was the one that had trapped them. A flooded passage, several hundred feet of it, in water with no light and nothing to see by. A diver can do that. A diver trains for years to do that. None of these men had ever breathed off a tank. And you cannot carry a grown man through several hundred feet of flooded rock. He has to swim it himself. So the rescuers made the only offer they had. And it is, to this day, one of the worst things you could say to a frightened man in the dark. We'll teach you to dive. It'll take about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's what stood between them and the rest of their lives. Imagine being told that. You have never worn a mask. You are cold, you have been in the dark for more than a day, and a stranger is showing you a regulator and telling you how to breathe through it. Then he tells you the rest. You'll go one at a time. A diver in front of you, a diver behind you. You will not see either of them. You'll feel a rope, and you'll follow it, and you will not know how much further there is to go. One by one they went. Steve Wilson went last. He would say later that the swim out seemed to take about 30 minutes, that it felt like hours, and that he was on the verge of panic the entire way. Rock overhead, silt in front of you, a stranger's hand somewhere on the line ahead, and no way to turn around. And then the water gets brighter, and then it lets go of you. All 4 of them came out. Every man who went into Rowland Cave that Friday came back out of it alive. And on the bank, in the same minute, the man who brought the last one out sat down. His name was Lyle Thomas, 39 years old, a Navy master diver who had spent 14 of his 22 years in the service underwater. He had just led Steve Wilson out through several hundred feet of flooded rock, the last man, the hardest one, and he came up, and he made it to dry ground, and his heart stopped. Even with help at hand, they couldn't bring him back. The coroner called it a heart attack. He didn't die reaching them. He died having finished. They walked into a cave to answer a question about a couple of miles of rock. They never did answer it. What they got instead was the answer to a different one. How far a stranger will come, and how fast, and what he'll spend to reach you. A man who had spent his whole working life underwater died on dry land, 20 feet from the water, with the job done. Nobody nearby could reach them, so somebody far away did. That's the part worth keeping.